Hi everyone, hello and welcome. This is Kasper speaking, and uh, and I don't know what to say. I forgot my line, so let's not pretend that I even have one. And never mind, I don't know where I'm going with this. I just wanted to say that my name is Kasper, and welcome to another episode of my English speaking channel. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is the episode number 44. I guess. I hate to say it, but I lost the track of the numbers because unfortunately I'm not always able to record a video every day, so I record more in advance if I have some spare time. Of course, I do my best to make a video every day, but it's not always possible. So, today, in today's video, I'm going to focus on, as always, answering some IELTS questions. And today, I'm going to say a few words about the internet and the sea. That's an interesting mix of subjects to discuss, but there are a few questions listed on my page because I'm recording the video on my phone, on my mobile phone, and behind the phone I have an opened notebook with the questions listed. So um, it's a really long introduction, and the rambling one, the one that I ramble a lot in it, but never mind. I know that I speak a bit chaotic. And that's just the way my English is for the moment. Because let me remind you, uh, I should have mentioned it in my every video actually, but my videos are unscripted and I don't have any structure in them because I want it to be some sort of diary of my language learning progress when it comes to learning English, of course. So I want to be it as natural as it can be. So I hope you get the general idea. As always, it's become a new tradition on my channel because I have my coffee with me, not a cup of, but a glass of coffee, and it looks like I'm ready. I have about an hour to make a video, so it looks like it's going to be the longest one so far on my channel, and I'm really looking forward to it because I've started noticing that I'm getting better and better in doing that. Of course, the quality of the videos leaves a lot to be desired, but I'm able to speak for, I don't know, I'm able to speak for an hour on the camera, and it's fab. It's fabulous, really. Because when I started my challenge almost 3 months ago, I struggled with making a 4 minute long video. So that's what I call enormous progress. But uh, I haven't I haven't even started and I'm rambling a lot. So let's jump right into the subject. But first, let me change the position because uh, I'm always sitting in an uncomfortable position and I get a stiff neck and stuff like that. Never mind. Let's get started. Like I said, in today's video, I'm going to focus mostly on the questions related to the internet and the sea. So, the first one is, do you use the internet? Of course, I use the internet every day and I find it impossible to imagine my life without the internet because it's an amazing tool, honestly. Um, I wouldn't have been the person I am now if it wasn't for the internet. Mm, because the internet contains tons of, and I mean tons of useful information. For example, let me give you an example. Um, I wouldn't be learning English if it wasn't for the internet, because it was a few years ago. I stumbled upon, uh, I came across while surfing on the internet some video of some American YouTuber who tried to learn Polish, and he gave some pieces of advice to for anyone who wanted to learn English, his native language. Um, I realized that the advice that he was given was pretty much useless, but nevertheless, um, it ignited a sparkle. I don't know how to say it. It he managed to wake up that sparkle in me to learn English. But of course, it had its own ups and downs, and I uh, I was learning English intensively for some time, and then I quit it. I came back and then quit, and it went like that for many years. But the thing changed about half a year ago when I finally, for the first time in my life, started treating learning English really seriously. And that's one of the reasons that I created this channel, by the way. So that was possible thanks to the internet because I searched the useful information. And before the advent of the internet, people had to use books, newspapers, magazines, and they had to chat to each other if they wanted to find some useful information. But nowadays, you don't need to do that. You just need to Google the question and you can find loads of extremely useful resources for pretty much learning anything. So I'm glad that I live in such times. I consider myself to be lucky because I have the internet access. Uh, like I said, my life would have been completely different if it wasn't for the internet. Of course, the internet, like pretty much everything in life, has its ups and downs, pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages, but it's a tool. Let's compare it to a hammer. Yeah, it's a it's a cliched comparison, but let me say it nevertheless. Um, let's say you have a hammer in your hand. You can use it to kill someone or to nail down a nail or to build something, all right? And the same goes for a knife. You can chop the meat or you can kill a person. It's a matter of what you do with that tool. And the same goes for the internet, honestly. That's my opinion, at least. I might be mistaken, but I don't think so. I'm not being modest here, but I think I'm being just confident, which is a good thing, I guess. So, are children allowed to use the internet at school in your country? No, they are not allowed, of course. There are strict rules there are strict rules at schools all over the country that children shouldn't even take their mobiles to school. And of course they do. Children do um, children don't always abide the rules, and they usually take their phones and they use it during the classes, during the lessons, and during the breaks, especially. Mm, it's like when you go into a school and stroll down the school corridors, um, you are bound to see many teenagers, many school children with their faces sticked to their phones, to their screens. And I think the same goes uh, for every country. I guess most of the children are uh, internet addicts and mobile addicts, social media addicts, and the list goes on and on because they are digital natives. And I'm lucky enough to remember the world before the advent of the digital technologies. As far as I remember, I bought my first phone when I was 18. So it was yeah, I got my phone at a relatively when I was relatively old because um, I was the last one in my class to get a mobile. So that was interesting. And I can remember that I got my first PC when I was 13. But uh, I got the internet. I was able to get. I got the internet, the access to the internet around 2 or 3 years later. So I wasn't grown up with the internet. That's what I want to say. Yeah, sometimes I find it difficult to express my thoughts, but I think I'm doing great. Nevertheless, let me take another sip of coffee because I find it hard to speak for um, longer amount of times without something to drink. And I hate to say it, but I'm completely addicted to coffee in a positive sense. I enjoy drinking coffee so much. To be honest, it's been my second one today. But never mind. So, what was I talking about? I was talking about the fact that children are not allowed to use the internet at school in my country, and they are not even allowed to bring their mobile phones to school, but they don't obey that rule. And it must be irritating for the teacher when for a teacher when that teacher tries to give a lesson to them. They conduct a teacher conducts his lesson and he can see a pupil with his phone with that finger moving across the screen. So irritating. And there's nothing he can do about it. I don't know what it's like in your country, but here in Poland, the teacher isn't allowed to take the children's phone, the phone that belongs to a children. I mean, he isn't allowed to confiscate it. It's against the rules, against the law even. So the children aren't allowed to use the internet, but they do it whatsoever. That's what I wanted to say. Moving on. Do you think that the internet is useful for study? I partially answered that question at the beginning of my video, and but let me repeat myself. I find it extremely useful, and I'm not exaggerating by no means by saying that it's so useful because, like I said, it wouldn't be possible for me to learn English, to learn Russian, to a decent degree. Let's put it this way. And I learned so much useful stuff thanks to the internet. Mm, of course, the idea that mm, the thing that it's a good idea to start a YouTube channel in order to improve my English. I found that information on the internet, on the YouTube to be more precise. And again, I did it thanks to the internet, and my English skyrocketed because of that. So that happened thanks to the internet. And again, it's so useful tool for study or self-study to be more precise, because you can find everything, pretty much everything on the internet. If you can't find something on the internet, um, it doesn't exist in most of the cases. It's simple like that. So yeah, um, you can learn pretty much anything thanks to the internet and on the internet. If you want to learn astrophysics, if you want to learn history or a language or physics, the list goes on and on. The internet is your starting point, because you can find there, I don't know, a list of resources, useful books that are recommended to read. If you don't like reading on the internet, just research some books and go with them, if that's what you prefer. I'm the person that prefers the paper versions of books rather than ebooks, I want to say. But when I studied Russian a while ago, I read dozens of books on my phone. I downloaded them onto my phone from the internet, and yeah, I've read so many of them actually, and I still do, as a matter of fact, but not as often as I used to. So I'm really grateful that I live in such times that something like the internet was possible. Moving on to another question. Have you ever used the internet to buy something? As a matter of fact, yes. But I prefer usual shops. I forgot the word. I have a flashcard with the exact word, but unfortunately, I'd forgotten the meaning. I'd forgotten the exact word. I prefer to buy things in store rather than using the internet for buying it. But if I have no other choice, like for example, when I buy books, I live in a relatively small town, and we don't have as many bookstores as in big cities, so I'm forced to use the internet for that. And the funny thing is about buying things on the internet, that is usually way cheaper than buying stuff in store. The same goes for perfumes, cosmetics, I don't know, clothes, and pretty much anything you can think of. So yeah, by the way, my girlfriend prefers buying things on the internet than in store, in person. It's much more accessible, I guess, and I don't know where I'm going with it. It's much more accessible and more convenient, but I'm the kind of person that prefers to touch the product, to see it, to try it on. If I want to buy some clothes. So yeah, that's basically it. So as I'm looking right now behind my screen on the list of questions, that's it for the first part, where I was talking about the internet. So let me first my coffee, and then let me sum up the first part of the video. So I was talking about the internet. I confess to you that I wasn't, I- I'm not a digital native. I remember clearly the times before the invention of the internet. I mean, the internet existed. I just didn't have access to that stuff mm, because my family couldn't afford it. It's simple like that. We couldn't afford it, and it was a disposable luxury. I mean, it was something luxurious that we could do without it. So we chose not to spend money on unnecessary stuff. I mean, my parents did chose that. And these days, I find it incredibly difficult to imagine my life without the internet. I can't overestimate it and how important it is for me. And basically, it's thanks to the internet that I become the person I am today. Yeah, I know how it may sound, but honestly, it's the way it is. Just like that. I would be a completely different person if it wasn't for the internet. And I tend to believe that I would be a worse kind of person that I am today, honestly. I might be wrong, of course I might, but I don't think that's the case. But let me, but let's stop here for a second and try to think of the times before the internet, because I can remember it as clearly as a day, because as I've mentioned in this video, I got my first PC when I was at the age of 13, and about years later, I got my first access to the internet. So I was a teenager when I got the access to the internet. And yeah, what do I want to say is that, hmm, was I happier without the internet? Hmm, that's the thing I need to think over carefully, because that's such a good one question to answer and to think it over carefully. Because was my life easier or better? Definitely, it was much calmer without the internet. Definitely, that's true. But I didn't have access to that information, even to a degree to the news, because all my information before the internet I got from my telly and the books and books. So yeah, it's about that. I don't know. Sometimes I tend to be, sorry, sometimes I tend to be a bit nostalgic. I've just felt a pan of nostalgia when I started remembering my childhood a second ago. I mean, so I felt that pan of nostalgia. Hmm. I remember it that I used to spend more time outside without the digital devices. But nowadays, I rarely go outside. If I have a choice, I bury myself in my books. I bury myself in or into my books. I'm not sure. I hope you get the point. You get the general idea of what I'm trying to say, of my core message that I am trying to deliver to you. So, um, I used to be, if I'm thinking about it, I used to be so much happier without the internet. Yeah, I know that it sounds like I'm contradicting myself on the spot, but that's not the case. Um, the internet is an amazing tool, but it has its price. And the price to pay for using the internet is that you spend less time outside, less time with other people, and you you are sticked to your screen, because in this day and age, I guess millions and millions of people are addicted to the modern technologies. And the finest example of that mobile phone is a mobile phone and the internet and social media. So yeah, it's about that. Definitely I was so much calmer and I didn't lead that busy life. Or maybe that's not because of the internet, and that was thanks to the simple fact that I was a child and I had so much more spare time and didn't have that many obligations as I have now. I don't know. The funny fact about me that I have a strong tendency to become philosophical to a bit. I'm the sort of person that hmm, is insightful. I'm not sure if that's even a word in English, but um, I have a lot of insight into myself. That's what I want to say. I hope you understood. I hope you understand me. So yeah, maybe let's close it on that note. I hope, hopefully this video isn't boring. I don't want you to bore you to death. That would be a real pity. So let's just move on to the second part of my video where I'm going to talk about, strangely enough, I'm going to talk about the sea. So let's get started immediately. Do you like to go on holiday by sea? Mm, First of all, I don't like to go on holiday whatsoever. Uh, I should start with that. Um, I'm the person that it's difficult to drag me outside of the house. I don't want. I prefer to stay indoors than go outside. But I've been I've been to the sea a few times in my life. Even though my home place was relatively close to the Baltic Sea. I had about 2 hours driving on the motorway, 3 hours by the train, so it wasn't that far. But the problem was the money and the time that I wasn't willing to spend on traveling to the sea. So I don't like going on holiday whatsoever, but if I have a choice, I would prefer to stay at home. That's the best kind of holiday I can get. Staying at home alone or with my girlfriend, uh, reading a book, drinking coffee, and having a chill day inside. So that's ideal holiday. That's the ideal holiday for me. By the way, there are some exceptions to the rule, and the first exception that comes to my mind is that um, I like going abroad. So if I have if I have an opportunity to go abroad, I would definitely take that chance, use it, and go abroad. But the funny thing is that I live about 2 kilometers to the Czech border, to the border with the Czech Republic. So it's like The distance from my home to the border with the Czech Republic is like 20 minutes on foot. And so, yeah, there are no real obstacles for me to travel around the Czech Republic, but the problem is the time. I'm I've been incredibly busy recently, and I have my hobbies, I have my obligations, and I need to take care of my girlfriend, and I really want to spend time with her. I don't want to neglect her because I really love her, and definitely I will marry her one day. We've been together for 3.5 years, and our relationship is great, in my opinion. We love each other, and we'd like to spend the rest of our lives together. So, uh, a little positive note in my video. That was a little positive note in my video. But getting back to the subject, um, do you like to go on holiday by sea? Not at all, honestly. I don't like water. To be frank, I'm a bit scared of water. Mm, Maybe because I can't swim. I've never learned to swim. I didn't put any deliberate effort to acquire that ability. But I had a chance to learn it 15 years ago during my holiday by the sea, by the way, but I didn't take that chance. I got discouraged and I just didn't want to learn that skill. So, yeah. um, mm, oh, actually, when was the last time I went to the sea? It was a few years ago. It was a 1 day trip to the sea with my brothers, with my two brothers, and with the former girlfriend of my elder brother. It was like 2019, so a few years ago, quite a while ago. But um, let me repeat myself, I don't enjoy water whatsoever. And, and I find it extremely boring to just um, lie down on a beach, just to lie around, sit around on the beach, doing nothing. What a waste of time. At least if I were at the beach, I'd prefer to take my book with me or to listen to podcasts, to the radio, in English, of course, and stuff like that. To be honest, I find it difficult to rest because I'm an extremely active person, and I find it extremely difficult to just lie down and chill out. When I lay in my bed, I need to do something. Sorry, I know how it sounds. I meant that mm, reading, for example, or watching something. So that's one thing. Moving on, are there many hotels by the sea in your country? I have no idea, honestly. Probably there are tons of them, but hmm. When I go on holiday somewhere, I prefer budget accommodation. I don't stay at fancy hotels because hmm, it's a waste of money, in my opinion. I don't feel any necessity to impress anybody, and if I'm to make a choice, I prefer budget accommodation than fancy hotels. That's my opinion on the subject. But I guess there are many hotels by the sea in my country because, especially for holiday seasons, um, I don't know, thousands and thousands of Poles go to the sea, and I don't know, Polish people, in my opinion, like to spend their holidays at the sea. That's my opinion on the matter. I might be wrong, I get that, but um, I've never really thought about it. That's a difficult question, and it caught me by surprise. That's the tricky thing, actually, about speaking a foreign language, but because you are asked, let's imagine that you are asked some strange questions like this one: Are there many hotels by the sea in your country? And you've never considered that thing. I've never thought about it, and actually, I don't care, to say the least. I don't care at all, to say the least. Um, but if you are asked that question, you have to answer it in a meaningful way, especially if uh, you are asked that question while sitting the exam. So that's the tricky thing. But never mind. There are tons of hotels, in my opinion, and but they are pricey, and in most of the cases, they are overpriced. It's a bit steep to spend a night at the hotel, especially during the season. Uh, in summer, I mean, because the prices skyrocket during that season. And the same thing goes in every country and in every location that is attractive to tourists. When there is the holiday season, the prices soar up. So, what kind of activities can people do by the sea? Many of them. Uh, the only limit is your imagination when it comes to spending your time by the sea. I don't know, you can lie on the sand, you can sunbath, you can check out some girls. And I hate to admit it, but I used to do it a lot when I was a single. Um, the best thing about lying in lying on the sand uh, was girls, so you can check them out. Mm, I know, I know that I'm sounding rude now, but it's the way it is. Every man does that, and but only some of them have enough courage to admit it publicly. But I hope my girlfriend uh, won't see it. Won't see it. I hope she doesn't see it. And yeah, so you can check out the girls or boys or men if you happen to be a woman. You can read, you can swim in the sea. I don't know. You can stroll along the beaches. There are no there are no limits to what you can do by the sea. And moving on to another question. How long do sorry. Yeah, I know I'm scammering because I'm sitting in an awkward position and I'm starting to feel some slight pain. How long do people normally visit the sea when they go on holiday? Actually, I know the answer for that question, and the typical amount of holiday days in Poland is 10 work days, 10 business days, and 14 calendar days, so 2 full weeks. And in most of the cases, they visit the sea for 10 days, I guess. That's my opinion. If I have to guess, that's my guess. So they visited for 12 weeks. And when I was at the age of 10, I spent one holiday at the sea, and I spent there 14 days. That was a funny experience. That was the first time that was the first time, hmm, that was the first time I'd seen the Polish Sea or the sea whatsoever. And was I impressed by it? I can't remember, but I should have been impressed because mm, I'd never seen something that impressive before, because the sea by its nature is an enormous object, an enormous body of water, and I don't know, that incredible amount of water, the waves. Mm, I guess that before that I'd only seen lakes and rivers in my neighborhood, in my area, I mean, which I used to live at that time. So, I don't know. Definitely I was impressed by it, if I'm thinking about it. But and I took home some souvenirs. Hmm. And by the way, this the thing that I remember that I bought, that I brought home from my first trip to the seaside, to the sea, was a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Uh, I was a huge fan of Yu-Gi-Oh anime and a card game and Yu-Gi-Oh card game at that time, and as a matter of fact, I still am till this day. But I digress. So I bought um, a copy, a pack of cards, of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they were just illegal copies. They weren't the original Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They had some strange writings on it, and I still have them in my flat actually. But I know there are illegal copies of the cards, so I got scammed as a child back then. So yeah, I don't know. I've been recording for 40 plus minutes, and I'm proud of myself. It's quite of an achievement for me to be able to speak for that long on the camera, but it's time to wrap up the video because I want to pick up my girlfriend from work, and we go to do the shopping because we have a long weekend ahead of us. Tomorrow we have in Poland a public holiday, and it means that the shops are closed. So we need to buy some bread, for example, some ice cream as well, because the heat wave, another heat wave is coming, is approaching. Yeah, I believe the forecast said that it's going to be 35 plus degrees of Celsius tomorrow. So terrifying. I can't wait. Yeah. So where was I? I wanted to wrap up quickly a video to do some kind of summary. So today I was talking about, strangely enough, the internet and the sea. So I shared some personal thoughts. I went down the memory lane, and I shared with you some memories about my life before the advent of the internet and before I got the access of it. I shared with you some memories of my experiences with seas and hotels. By the way, I used to work in a hotel a few years ago. I was a receptionist. I worked at a receptionist desk. I worked there for about half a year, and after that, I went to the military. for the training. But I digress. That's another story for another video. But let me tell you, I have loads of interesting stories and experiences from that period of my life that I'd really like to share with you guys. But let's leave it for later. So yeah, um, today I tried to answer some rather tricky questions because the funny thing about IELTS speaking exam is that you need to be ready to speak about pretty much anything. And in most cases, you don't care about most of the stuff. Like, I don't know, let me repeat the question that I had struggled to answer today. Are there many hotels by the sea in your country? I couldn't care less, honestly. And but one day I will take an exam, not necessarily IELTS, but something different, maybe a Cambridge one. That would be nice to have a certificate, but by no means I'm not ready. I still need to spend hundreds of hours on deliberate practice and studying the language. But the time passes on whatsoever, no matter what we do. So I could devote that time to learn some English. Sounds like a good idea. So yeah, let me check the time. I've been recording for 47 minutes now. I'd like to record a video. I'd like to post a 1 hour long video. I'd like to be a new standard for my channel to post about 1 hour long video. That would be awesome to have that long practice seasons. But unfortunately, I'm running out of time. And as a matter of fact, I'm running a bit late because I need to prepare myself for setting out. Like I said, I need to pick up my girlfriend from work, and he ends her shift in 30 minutes, in almost 30 minutes. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. Uh, I know that my videos can be really boring, but the practice makes perfect. I think I'm getting better and better at doing the YouTube stuff. So one day I will produce quality content. Take my word for that. But for now, uh, let me say goodbye and see you in the next video. So, bye.